right, good afternoon. Media Days continues here in Frisco, Texas. I'm Matt Berry from ESPN with the 8 coaches representing their schools today. I've already talked to all of you on TV, so this shouldn't be too difficult. And I want to start and kind of frame the conversation like this. And Coach Frost, I'm going to start with you. As the newcomer to the Big 12 this year, you've had an opportunity to watch this league from afar. How would you describe the competitive balance of the Big 12?
Yeah, I mentioned that talking to you, just the watching from the outside. This is the one league where I feel like there's so many good schools in this league and everybody plays well, but you can make an argument anybody in this league could win the league if they do things the right way. I think that makes for a competitive league that's a lot of fun to play and coach in and watch.
Yeah, and Coach Campbell, we were talking about that this morning as well. We could list, all 8 schools represented here today could win this conference. When you have a conference that deep, with that much talent, and so many teams that can win it, how does that speak to the health of this league nationally with the other Power Fours?
Yeah, I just think it makes it really special. I think you look at the coaching staffs up here, you see the players that came with each of these staffs, and you got 8 great teams coming tomorrow. I think top to bottom, you tune into a Big 12 game on a Saturday, it's going to be a really great experience. And I think it's a credit to the coaches up here and what they've built, and the coaches coming tomorrow and what they've built.
Kenny, college football is in an era completely different than 2-3 years ago. It seems like it's changing every minute. As the conference champion from a year ago and where you sit now, what do you want to see happen, not only in this conference, but in college football big picture, to ensure the health of it moving forward?
Yeah, just to create some standards, whatever it is. I don't think anybody cares what the rules are. They just want to know the rules, right? Tell us where the sandbox is and we'll play in it. At the end of the day, this is a game. I know this is a business. I know it's a profession to everybody, but if anybody who's not in this, to see a kid go from an 18-year-old kid to a 22-year-old man and enter the real world is in it for the wrong reasons. So I think people always focus on the negative and the changing of college football. The reality is we get to impact a lot of young people every single day, and we should do it with every single power that we have in our body to help these kids achieve success in life.
And when you mention rules, does that include knowing what targeting looks like, or is that a whole...
No. Okay. I have heard more positive things about losing in my entire life. That we lost the football game, unfortunately. There's no excuses. If I have better scheme on 4th down, nobody talks about targeting.
Coach Aranda, similar question in college football. We need to put the smart people in a room to get this thing figured out. What do you want to see out of the sport now moving forward?
Well, just now that we're in revenue share mode, just the enforcement, I think, is going to be the strongest thing. I think if there's rules, that everyone's following the rules, I know it would help the programs that are represented here. If everyone's playing by those rules, and if there's people that are not, and they're trying to get this advantage or that advantage and try to go around the system, that there's some type of repercussions for that. I think that would be way helpful for us to move the game forward.
Coach Satterfield?
Yeah, I agree. I think certainly to echo off what both of the coaches said there, having some boundaries about what we have to do and what we can't do. I think sometimes, we sit here and talking like we're in the profession and we don't even know the rules.
Right.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
And it's ever changing. And there's not anything that's been very stable over the last since 2020. The things have changed so much and so fast. So hopefully we can, garner this and set some boundaries, some rules, and then there are going to be some ramifications if someone does break the rules.
Yeah, Coach Kleiman, from your seat, when you look at the challenges that's presented, really with everyone, there's schools that don't have the same issues as others, but what do you think would fix and keep the sport and make it healthy?
Yeah, I think these guys have hit it on the head. We all want to play by a set of rules, whatever those rules are. The other thing I think that would, in between the lines, help our game, and we as a coaching staff decided this in May, we didn't do a coaches poll this year, and the narrative really hurt the Big 12 last year. It hurt it with Kalani, and it hurt it with Kenny for a while. And I'd like to see the first polls come out when the CFP comes out,
right? Because
then you've got 7 or 8 games rather than this team's supposed to be good, we'll keep them up there, and all of a sudden they start off 1-3 and they're still ranked 15th, and somebody like Kenny could be 4-0 and not even in the ballpark. We've got to change that narrative and give everybody a level playing field now that we're in a revenue sharing era.
Coach McGuire.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then Kalani brought it up. let's decide it on the field. You know, if we're sitting here talking about the playoffs, if you win the conference champion, you should be in the playoff. And then it's one of the deals, I know you said it a couple years ago, to where we all of a sudden now have cross-conference games that we're playing each other. I think that'd be a great way to do it. You know, I saw Brian Kelly say he'd love to play a Big 10 team. Hey, man, I would love to play LSU, you know, home and home series, and whoever plays that, then, you know, we look at the rankings and everything like that. Coach?
Yeah, I think we got 3 non-conference games, and so why don't we just play the other 3 conferences for the 3 non-conference games? Pretty simple. And to echo what all the men have said up here, the game of college football will be even better the more you include coaches in the rules and in making the legislation. All that stuff needs to include more coaches, because these men have done a great job of protecting the game of football altogether. And the one thing I do love about all of them is that they do care about the student athletes, and they're focused on getting them their degree. And so the character of the men in this the coaching staff in this conference are amazing. So with overall, Big 12 conference is a great conference. Back to the question, I'm all about playing the game on the field. So let's, with the flexibility, let's try to figure out a way to get that done.
And is that an agreement amongst all of you, and that we're in a spot where we kind of don't know the criteria of getting to the college football playoff, other than we know if you win your conference, you get an automatic bid, and then there's the at-large bids. Is there something that you believe when you look at some of the other ideas being pitched around, the 5 and 11? You heard Brett Yormark talk about that today. Is that the best for college football in addition to this league?
I think it is right now. I'm on a couple of committees, and I think it is definitely right now until we can get uniformity in scheduling. You can't have some leagues playing 9 conference games and some leagues playing 8 conference games. So we've got to get on the same page there. And if we can do that, I still think if you have the 5 AQs and have 11 at-large teams, you go back to what these guys say, then you have some head-to-head matchups. And those head-to-head matchups, P4 versus P4 is going to matter.
Let me ask you this, Coach Frost. You were in the NFL a year ago. I mean, that's a professional sports league. That's the professional level of football. College seems to be trending that way. Is there anything that concerns you about where you believe the sport is headed?
Yeah, I think there's things that concern a lot of us. You know, Coach talked about the fairness right now, and Coach talked about wanting things to be decided on the field. At least in the NFL, you know what the rules are, you know what the salary cap is. Right now, at the end of the day, things are decided on the field, but way before that, they're decided in bank accounts. And that needs to be leveled out. Like Coach said, if there's some enforcement and everybody's playing by the same rules, I think it's a better game. It's a sad state of affairs in college football if he who has the richest boosters wins, and I don't think that's where anybody wants it or where it was intended to be.
Coach Campbell and Sitake, you've been in both your programs now for 10 years, kind of the dean of the coaches here on set in this league. How have you seen the Big 12? I mean, it was a few years ago, and we're sitting here thinking the Big 12 could be in trouble when Oklahoma and Texas departed to the SEC. It seemed to be expansion and realignment every 3 days. But in your 10 years, how have you seen the Big 12 position itself to where we are today?
Well, I think some foresight a little bit on, you know, even though those rocky times have come, the foresight to be aggressive in adding the right teams into this conference. And I think, you know, the additions that we made over the last 4 to 5 years have helped us steady the ship during a really rocky time. And not even just the quality of football program, but the quality of universities that have come into the Big 12 over the last 3 years. I think not only has it added great value in football, but it's also added great value in terms of the integrity of the Big 12 right now.
I think the level of leadership we're seeing from the Big 12, specifically from Commissioner Yormark, has been amazing. The innovation and creativity. So it fits along with what we're trying to get done on the field, and it's an easy thing for us to do. I mean, we're going into our 3rd year in the conference, but it's what our fans base have been waiting for this entire time, and I feel like we've been here the entire time, and we're loving it. So we're honored to be in this position and to be partnered up with such great coaches and universities, and we're excited about the season.
In a candid roundtable, and maybe you were asked this question this morning, maybe you weren't, but I want each of you to go down the line, and Kenny, we'll start with you, with where we are now in player movement. What candid conversations do you need to have with a player who might consider leaving or who might try to do something else? What conversations are you having with your players now that you weren't having 2-3 years ago?
Yeah, to be honest, not a lot. We returned almost everybody. Not many people wanted to leave the program. I think if you pour into people, they feel obligated to pour back into you. So I think our program's built on retention, not acquisition. I don't want to win recruiting rankings. I don't want to win social media. I don't want to be the number one team in the recruiting. I want to be number one in retention. I want our players to know if you come to our school, we are going to take care of you. Mm-hmm. That's it. So what conversation do I have? If you come here, I'm going to take care of you. That's it. And that's the conversation we have, but we don't have much movement unless somebody is a senior, junior, and wants to start, and he's maybe second or third on the depth chart. And I say, listen, you're not going to start for us. We have a guy returning. If you want to play college football, let me help you. Get you to Memphis, where a guy I worked with is the head coach. We had 2 guys in our 2 deep leave. Both of them went to go play for people I coached with that I consider mentors, Florida State and Memphis. I helped them get there.
Coach Aranda.
I thought the first portal window of this past year, I felt like, hey, we've got some opportunities for guys to come in and contribute. And I felt that throughout. Just everyone was kind of in, hey, we're kind of the hunter mode. We're trying to fill some spots. We're losing guys are declaring or guys are stepping away from football, whatever it may be. I thought in the second portal window, I felt very much like we were the hunted. There's so many of our players that were coming to me or to us and saying, hey, that there's this much money being offered to me, and I'm going to go. They're talking about me going to this league or that league, and it was a consistent thing just about every day. And so to be able to kind of get through that, I think we had one departure. I think speaks to what was just spoke about. I think that you have to have relationships, and it has to be bigger than football, because when the times get tough and the storms come and everyone up here has been through all of that, it's the people are the only thing that are left.
Yeah.
And they're the only thing that are real. When all that stuff happens, the money that you're making doesn't even enter the equation. And so I think to have it where it's relationships and it's truth telling and it's transparency, and I think the people can feel when it's just transactions that are happening.
Coach Frost.
I agree with everything they said, but there's a limit to everything. If some other network offered you 4 times as much to go work for them,
I'm out. Sorry, ESPN. See ya.
Exactly, and that's where if we know what the limit everybody can spend and everybody's working with the same resources, I think you'll see a lot less transferring and a lot less movement, and that'll be good for not just college football, but for the young men themselves.
Coach Satterfield.
Yeah, very similar. I think obviously we want to retain our best players and the players that are doing the right things. But I do think honesty comes into play. I do think the way you treat your guys, hold them accountable, be disciplined with them, but be honest with them. And the players that have left are guys that want to start. Second, third year guys that want to go play somewhere and start. And I think that's what you want. That's a healthy program in my opinion. But it's mainly taking care of your guys that have done all the things that correctly for your program.
And Coach Aranda said something interesting, Coach Gamble, about the portal window. It seems to me that opens a lot for interpretation for getting your roster set, allowing these players to leave. I think it's absolutely insane that there was a team in the college football playoff that their backup quarterback hopped in the portal to get there in time for the new semester. What needs to happen in these portal windows to make it uniform to where we're not having players leave during the playoff or during big bowl games?
Yeah, and I know Chris is on these committees that works really hard to kind of, help coaches and help programs kind of align the calendar the correct way. And I think we've talked about this as a Big 12 coaches. Obviously, you'd love to have one portal window. I think every coach in America would want that. I think the reality is our ability to get this calendar right. I don't think it's fair for college student athletes. I think Notre Dame and Ohio State, both their players played in the championship game, and Ohio State's already 3 weeks into the second semester. Notre Dame flies home, and their kids are going right back to campus. I think the reality of getting our calendar correct, helping one calendar window, finding at the right time for the transfer portal to be open, probably some point in January, and then helping us have that opportunity then to build our football teams from there. So I think we still have a lot of work to do in college football, get the calendar right in terms of the season, get the aligning the player acquisition correct for everybody involved, and then getting the time to prepare our teams to get ready to play, and getting those three things right, I think is critical for college football to be successful.
You know, Coach Kleiman, since you are in on those committees, what's the biggest prevailing question, concern that I think comes up of some of the things we've talked about up here?
I think the number one thing, and Matt said it, we have to have one portal window. We have to have only one portal window. We got to find the right time for it. There's a lot of arguments on when that right time is, but there's got to be just one portal window, and it's got to be built around the entire calendar. And whenever that portal window is, and unfortunately we're not going to decide that, it's going to be other people, but when that is decided, we're going to try to open up a calendar so that you're not locked into spring ball. Spring ball needs to be OTAs. And if I've got everybody back and I want to do everything in March and April for 15 practices or 20 practices, let me have it. If Joey loses a bunch of guys, he gets all his guys in whenever that portal win is, May or June, and he wants to do those things in June, let them do that. We're all smart enough here. We're not going to go bang heads and go full padded practices in the month of June. But that's something we don't get right now, is on-field practicing of coaching in the summer, and we think it needs to change. And that's something that's part of the portal window. We just need to have more of us coaches involved on these committees.
Coach McGuire?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think whenever you start asking, I haven't been in college football as long as these guys have, and you start asking, well, who came up with this rule? And you go, well, you have this one coach on this one subcommittee, and you call him, and he's got one vote, and everything else is administrators or anything like that aren't operating in this daily world that we operate. And so I think that's really important that we have more of a voice. And then with that, again, like somebody asked me today, who knew that the national letter of intent, whenever you sign that, didn't mean anything anymore? Like, we need to have rules that are enforced, but we also need to have real contracts that have teeth in them, to where you can sign a kid and have a multi-year contract and they're feel good about that. Like, there has to be the blanket rules that are enforced. And I think if coaches are more involved in that, then you're going to have something that you can operate, because that's the world that we live in every day.
When it's all said and done, they're still amateurs. It's an amateur sport. I know rev share. There's some things that we're doing that it's a professional model, but there's still young people that are growing to become adults.
Yeah.
And the focus of the development is academic, not just only football. Getting the degree is a key, but also allowing them to develop. And I think sometimes when money enters, they're forced to grow up a lot faster than what they're ready for.
Yeah, look, and it's going to be an ongoing conversation, and we need to get the adults in the room that are there day to day to get it fixed, to get the sport we all know and love back to health. I think, you guys done with media? What's next for you? Your breakout sessions? What do you have? You all look thrilled to do it. I can't wait. Gentlemen, thank you for your honesty in the roundtable today. It's been a pleasure talking with each of you on ESPN, and we'll do this again tomorrow with the 8 representing coaches tomorrow afternoon.